Jerry convinced Easy I was a troublemaker. So then Easy started to talk to everybody, and then, pretty soon I was the odd man out at the end of the day.
There are those who were born to follow the rules, and there are those who were born to break them. Ice Cube, the first rapper to make the FBI open a surveillance file, the first black screenwriter in Hollywood to pull in billions at the box office, the man who once made the entire industry try to silence him. Dirty deals, doors slammed shut for speaking the truth, blacklisted for standing up for black politics. And today, Ice Cube is done staying silent. He's telling it all about the FBI, about Hollywood, about the falls and the punches that made the whole world go quiet. This isn't just a rapper's story. This is the confession of a survivor. And the time has come for the truth to be revealed. South Central Los Angeles, late 1960s. A place where every night echoed with police sirens and gunfire, where the dream of a black child often ended, before it even began. In that world, on June 15, 1969, O'Shea Jackson was born. His father, Hosea Jackson, worked as a maintenance technician at UCLA, a quiet, strict, but fair man. His mother, Doris, a hospital clerk, worked 2 jobs just to keep the lights on. They lived quietly, doing everything they could to keep their son away from the crime swallowing their neighborhood. But in South Central, violence doesn't wait for you to grow up. When Cube was in 9th grade, his best friend was shot right in front of the school gates. Not over money, not over gangs, just for standing in the wrong place. The boy's mother screamed, her cries echoing through the block. That was the day O'Shea realized one thing in this place: a human life was cheaper than a bullet. And if you didn't speak up sooner or later, you'd be buried in silence. He began to write about the police, about the streets, about the fear inside children who had no one to protect them. Those poems, those rough scribbles in his notebook, slowly turned into rhythm. At 16, Cube and his cousin Sir Jinx formed a group called CIA Crew in Action. They performed at Crenshaw house parties using beat-up mics, broken speakers, and cassette tape beats. No stage, no lights. Just truth and an audience of braided, tattooed young men trying to escape lives that looked exactly like his. South Central at that time was a war zone, young black men dying to crack cocaine and police bullets. When the US government launched the war on drugs, hundreds of them were thrown into prison. Ice Cube saw it all, and in his music he turned every scene into a warning. After graduating from Taft High, Cube earned a partial scholarship in architecture at the Phoenix Institute of Technology. He left Los Angeles, his first time stepping out of his comfort zone. By day, he learned to draw perfect lines for buildings. By night, he wrote rap lyrics on scrap paper stories about the people the world wanted to forget. His parents couldn't understand why he gave up architecture, a stable, clean job, to chase something seen as dangerous and meaningless. Cube said architecture was safe, rap was dangerous. I chose danger. For Cube, that was the first time he chose freedom over safety. No one knew that decision would open a whole new chapter in American music. The empire known as N.W.A. was born. 1986, Los Angeles was on fire. But in the midst of that darkness, 5 young men came up with a wild idea: if the world refused to listen, they'd force it to. A small-time crack dealer named Eazy-E pooled his money to start a record label. Dr. Dre, a studio genius, was desperate to escape the trap of cheesy love songs. DJ Yella and MC Ren lived and breathed beats and rhymes. And Ice Cube, the writer who turned reality into bullets. They called themselves N.W.A. niggas with attitudes. A name so raw, every major label in America was terrified to say it out loud. Cube wasn't the best rapper, but he wrote lyrics like he was carving into America's law book. He wrote with real anger, real fear, and real scenes. When Dr. Dre dropped the beat, Cube threw in verses only someone who had lived through hell could write. And on August 8, 1989, Straight Outta Compton was born. Cube wrote 70% of the lyrics. It wasn't just an album, it was a declaration of war. Straight Outta Compton, crazy motherfucker named Ice Cube. Each verse hit like a sledgehammer to the image of an equal in free America. The song spread like a political wildfire. In Detroit, hundreds of young people were arrested just for blasting it too loud. In New York, radio stations got threats from the police department if they dared to play it. And then the FBI officially sent a warning letter to Priority Records. We believe your record encourages violence against law enforcement officers. Never before in U.S. music history had a song made the Federal Bureau of Investigation react. In public, the government called N.W.A. a threat to America. MTV refused to air their videos. TV channels erased their name from playlists. But Cube didn't back down. He said they can silence the radio, but not the streets. And he was right. The streets kept the music alive. Old cars in South Central shook under the bass. 15-year-olds in snapbacks raised their fists and shouted along. "The Police Straight Outta Compton" wasn't just an album. It was the battle cry of the forgotten. An explosion that forced America to look at itself and put Ice Cube on the government's watch list. After Straight Outta Compton, N.W.A. became a phenomenon. The tapes sold out. Every tour was packed. The media called them the world's most dangerous group. But while their fame skyrocketed, the money wasn't landing in the right pockets. The band began to crack. Ice Cube, the man who wrote over 70% of the group's lyrics, was paid just $32,000. A tiny sum compared to the millions that Straight Outta Compton brought in for Ruthless Records. Cube was still living in a small rented apartment, driving an old car, and had never seen a check that matched his worth. He knew something was wrong. He started asking, "Where's my money?" And the only answer he got was silence. Behind the stage lights, a seasoned white manager named Jerry Heller held all the power. He was the one who helped Eazy-E start Ruthless Records, signed the contracts, and controlled the money. Eazy-E began buying houses, cars, and moving in business circles, while Cube was still stuck with $32,000. In every meeting, only Heller and Eazy knew the real numbers. The rest, Dre, Ren, Yella, Cube, had no copies of their contracts. Cube later said he had us signing paper like it was nothing. We didn't even have lawyers. Cube started demanding transparency, asking to be paid fairly. But all he got back was silence and cold stares. Heller called him a troublemaker. Eazy-E, protected by Heller, trusted his manager more than his brother-in-arms. Dr. Dre, MC Ren, and DJ Yella kept their distance, afraid of being dragged into the mess. The group that once called each other brothers now looked at Cube as a rebel. He was cut out of recording sessions, removed from tour contracts. The man who had created N.W.A.'s voice suddenly became the outcast. December 1989. Ice Cube walked away. No lawsuits, no demands, just silence. The press labeled him the traitor of Compton. Eazy-E mocked him publicly in interviews. Jerry Heller said he'd never survive on his own. But Cube knew some battles can't be won by staying silent. The counterattack. In 1991, he struck back with the only weapons he had: a pen and a microphone. The album Death Certificate dropped, featuring one of the most brutal diss tracks in rap history, No Vaseline. The lyrics were raw, sharp as a blade. "You let a Jew break up my crew." One line and the entire industry exploded. Some called him fearless, others called him hateful. MTV and radio stations banned the track nationwide, but Cube didn't apologize and he didn't take a word back. He said later, "I didn't write that song to be nice, I wrote it to be real." Death Certificate sold over 2 million copies, proving Ice Cube wasn't just a rapper anymore. He was a cultural icon. On the streets, No Vaseline blared everywhere, from cars, bars, to the projects of Los Angeles. For many, it wasn't just a song. It was a declaration of war, a voice for the betrayed. Ice Cube had gone from a young rapper to the face of resistance. From that moment on, Ice Cube was no longer just a son of Compton, he was the man rewriting America's rulebook. Ice Cube reborn. After the storm of Death Certificate, Cube decided to change direction. He knew he couldn't stay the rebel forever, he had to become the man in control. Instead of relying on record labels, Cube invested his own money to create Lynch Mob Records, his own empire where he was the boss. It was a move almost no rapper dared to make back then. No one believed a 22-year-old black man could run production, distribution, and marketing on his own. From exploited rapper to self-made mogul, Ice Cube became hip-hop's first true businessman. That same year, 1991, a young director named John Singleton, fresh out of USC, approached Cube. "I've got a script about South Central," he said, "and I want you to star in it." Cube was surprised he'd never acted before. Singleton just smiled. "You don't need to act, just be yourself." That one sentence changed Ice Cube's life forever. The most dangerous rapper in America became Hollywood's most wanted star. Boyz and the Hood premiered in the summer of 1991, and America woke up. Not because of special effects or spectacle, but because it was real. The film mirrored the lives of young black men in South Central, trapped between gangs and cops, fighting just to survive. At the center of it was Doughboy, a cold, broken young man full of scars. Ice Cube didn't play Doughboy, he became him. Cube walked out of that theater and straight into Hollywood history. Boyz and the Hood made $56 million on a $6.5 million budget, and earned 2 Oscar nominations. Ice Cube, once America's most dangerous rapper, was now a rising black actor Hollywood couldn't ignore. But Cube didn't want to be the guy Hollywood gave a chance. He wanted to own the game. In 1995, he wrote, produced, and starred in Friday, a comedy about 2 lazy friends in a poor neighborhood. With a $3.5 million budget, the film made $28 million and became a 1990s cultural phenomenon. After Friday, Cube wasn't just an actor, he was the storyteller of Black America. Studios lined up to sign him. In Three Kings 1999, with George Clooney, Cube earned $1 million. The film grossed $107 million. Barbershop 2002 cost $12 million and made $75 million. Cube became one of Hollywood's most bankable faces. Are we there yet? 2005, a family comedy pulled in nearly $100 million, raising Cube's pay to $10 million per film. Then came Ride Along 2014 with Kevin Hart, a global box office hit grossing $154 million, making Cube one of America's top movie stars. In just 10 years, from 1995 to 2005, his films earned over $1 billion, combined, a record many veteran white actors never reached. Cube didn't just act, he built an empire. Through Cube Vision, his production company behind Friday Barbershop. Are we there yet? And Ride Along. He controlled the rights, earned back-end profits, and collected residuals income that would last for decades. Then in 2017, Cube made a move no one expected: sports. He founded BG3, a professional 3-on-3 basketball league for former NBA players. At first, people laughed at the idea. But after just 3 seasons, BG3 was broadcast nationwide with over a dozen teams and stars like Shaquille O'Neal and Allen Iverson, involved, valued at more than $250 million. Cube became the only man to conquer hip-hop, film, and sports. When asked why he dared to do it all, he simply said, "I don't wait for permission. I give myself permission." Today, Ice Cube is no longer just a rapper or an actor. He's a cultural billionaire, a man who turned the anger of the streets into an empire spanning music, film, and sports. The more successful he became, the less afraid Ice Cube was to confront the system. After more than 3 decades at the top, Ice Cube seemed untouchable, wealthy, respected, and in a position no studio dared to challenge. But in 2020, when America was more divided than ever, Cube did what no one else would dare: he spoke the truth. He sparked controversy by releasing the contract with Black America, a 22-page document detailed like a mini-constitution calling for investment redistribution, Black-owned banks, education reform, and economic ownership for the Black community. Cube didn't choose sides. He met with both Democrats and Republicans. What he wanted wasn't power, but fairness. "I don't pick sides. I pick whoever's willing to listen." But Hollywood didn't see it that way. Many stars, including Oprah and The View, refused to have him on their shows. Cube later recalled, "They didn't want me talking about empowerment. They wanted me quiet." From being celebrated as a cultural icon, Ice Cube was pushed out of the spotlight. Studios distanced themselves. Major talk shows avoided his name, afraid of political backlash. The hardest hit arrived: the $9 million loss of The King. The breaking point came in 2022. Cube had been cast in a $9 million film project. Everything was set until the studio demanded that he take the COVID vaccine to comply with production rules. Cube refused. "They wouldn't give it to me because I wouldn't get the shot." The deal collapsed. The role vanished. $9 million gone over one shot. Hollywood split in reaction. Fans praised him for standing on principle, while the media called him stubborn and extreme. Hollywood began to fear Ice Cube not for his power, but because he had nothing left to lose. He said what others only dared to think. When asked about Diddy, who was facing scandals, Cube laughed, "Almost 40 years of rocking the mic, me and N.W.A ain't never been to a Diddy party, motherf." Behind the spotlight, Ice Cube was not a man who forgave easily. After 3 decades in music and film, he'd learned one truth in showbiz: everything has a price except loyalty. Silent wars and the last man standing. The fiery beef with Cypress Hill, 1993. In 1993, while Cube was at the peak of his solo career, a spark ignited on the west side of Los Angeles. The group Cypress Hill, from the same neighborhood and once friendly with Cube, accused him of stealing their hook "Throw Your Set in the Air" and reusing it for Friday's movie soundtrack. In hip-hop, that's nearly unforgivable. Cube denied it immediately, telling reporters, "Nobody owns a phrase in hip-hop. It's all community property." Two once-friendly crews became rivals overnight. Fans took sides. Their joint show in Los Angeles that year was canceled at the last minute after rumors of guns in the crowd. According to insiders, a confrontation at a studio nearly turned violent before security stepped in. Eventually, both sides backed off, but the friendship was gone. Cube never brought it up again. He only said, "In hip-hop, respect is war. You win it every day." A frozen friendship with Dr. Dre. With Dr. Dre, the story was different, not hate, but distance. They had built N.W.A. together, been watched by the FBI together, and changed America with their music. But after the split, that brotherhood fractured forever. When Cube left N.W.A. in 1989 over Jerry Heller, Dre stayed silent. When Dre left Ruthless to form Death Row Records with Suge Knight, Cube said nothing. For nearly a decade, the two icons, two empires, walked separate paths. In 2000, they reunited unexpectedly on Chin Check, a track by Cube, Dre, and MC Ren for Next Friday. Fans thought N.W.A. was back, but behind the scenes, they barely spoke. Cube admitted in Rolling Stone, "We talk business, not friendship." Dre respected Cube, but kept his distance. Cube respected Dre, but didn't trust him. It was a kind of cold brotherhood. Only those who've been betrayed can understand. They still shake hands, still smile, but never open up again. Jerry Heller, the final enemy. If there's one name Ice Cube would carry in his heart forever, not out of love but out of a blood-deep debt of honor, it would be Jerry Heller. The manager who once served as the soul of Ruthless Records, the man who turned N.W.A. into a phenomenon, and the same man who tore it apart. Cube always believed Heller was the puppet master behind it, all the contracts, the money, the division, even the rumors that isolated him in 1989. For decades, he almost never mentioned Heller's name until the release of Straight Outta Compton 2015. In the film, Jerry Heller was portrayed exactly as Cube had always seen him, a shrewd but manipulative manager who used artists to make himself rich. Heller was furious. He sued Cube and Universal Pictures for defamation of character. But before the case could end in 2016, Jerry Heller died of a heart attack. When reporters asked Cube for his reaction, he gave a short, emotionless answer. "No anger, no tears, I didn't feel anything. No hate, no love, just peace." It wasn't coldness, it was closure. That was how Ice Cube ended the darkest chapter of his life. No forgiveness, no resentment, just release. In a world where everyone fights to be heard, Cube learned that silence can be its own kind of power. He knew that sometimes the last man standing isn't the one who wins every battle, but the one still standing after everyone else has fallen. I've been in too many wars to waste bullets now. Ice Cube. Although he couldn't hold on to loyal friendships in Hollywood, Ice possessed something far more valuable and far more rare. In a world where scandal is currency, Ice Cube chose something more luxurious than money, family. Marriage and private life. The last gangsta, who kept his home in 1992 while other rappers were partying, wasting money, and losing themselves in the noise, Cube quietly married Kimberly Woodruff, the girl he'd loved since high school. No fancy wedding, no paparazzi, no media circus, just a simple promise between two people to walk through life together. More than 30 years later, that promise still stands. In Hollywood, where marriages collapse faster than summer, hits Ice Cube and Kimberly remain one of the few lasting exceptions. No scandals, no affairs, no drama. When asked for his secret, Cube just smiled. Marriage is like music. If you want harmony, you gotta keep rehearsing. They have 4 children. The eldest, O'Shea Jackson Jr., followed in his father's footsteps, playing Cube himself in Straight Outta Compton 2015, the film that told his father's story. When the movie premiered, audiences were stunned by their resemblance, the voice, the eyes, the same cold fire from 30 years ago. Cube said later, "Watching him play me was like watching my younger self survive again. No wild parties, no models, no drug scandals. Unlike Diddy, Kanye, or 50 Cent, Ice Cube became a symbol of stability. A man who walked through storms and chose to become a foundation for the next generation. He didn't just keep his family, he kept himself. The empire of a man once labeled dangerous. From a kid raised among gunshots and sirens, Ice Cube now owns an empire worth hundreds of millions. Not just a rapper, not just an actor, but Hollywood's quiet king, one who doesn't need noise to prove his power. According to Forbes 2025, Ice Cube's net worth is estimated at $180 million, though the real figure is believed to be much higher, because most of his empire lies outside Hollywood's control. He owns Cube Vision, an independent studio behind billion-dollar franchises like Friday Barbershop, Are We There Yet, and Ride Along. Unlike most stars who only collect paychecks, Cube holds ownership stakes and residuals, earning money every time his films air on TV streaming or DVD. In 2017, he founded the Big E3 League, America's first professional 3-on-3 basketball league, now valued at over $250 million, featuring NBA legends like Allen Iverson, Gary Payton, and Steven Jackson. Cube calls it the Players' League, a place for athletes abandoned by the system. Beyond sports, Cube invests in tech startups. He's a shareholder in MyPrimo, a decentralized streaming platform for independent artists aiming to return profits and control to creators. Cube Vision is also developing its own distribution platform independent of Netflix or Amazon, where artists can fully own their work and revenue. Cube isn't just a survivor, he's becoming the architect of the post-Hollywood era. Though rarely flashy, Cube's empire stretches from Los Angeles to Las Vegas. He owns a $725 million mansion in Marina del Rey, purchased from Jean-Claude Van Damme, complete with a private theater recording studio and a 70-foot pool overlooking the Pacific Ocean. His car collection perfectly blends gangsta and gentleman, a Rolls-Royce Phantom, Bentley Arnage, Porsche Panamera, and his iconic 1964 Chevrolet Impala, the lowrider symbol of his Compton youth, each customized with red leather interiors and engraved Cube Vision. But what earns the most respect is not how he spends his money, but how he doesn't. No champagne parties, no gold chains, no need to flaunt wealth. He invests only in what holds real value. I don't wear my money, I build with it. Ice Cube. For Cube, luxury isn't in cars or mansions. It's in freedom, the right to say what he wants, do what he believes, and live on his own terms. And that's something even $180 million can't buy unless you are willing to risk everything from the very beginning. Few know this, but over 3 decades, Cube has quietly supported countless social causes. No speeches, no hashtags, just action. Because as he says, real power isn't on camera. It's in what you do when no one's watching. Ice Cube and his contributions to the community, education, and the next generation. Since the early 2000s, Ice Cube and his wife Kimberly Woodruff have funded scholarship programs for underprivileged Black students in Los Angeles. He's especially focused on public schools in South Central, the same streets where he grew up, surrounded by gunfire and poverty. If I don't help those kids, then who will? I used to be one of them. He's also worked with the Minority Media Education Program and USC's School of Cinematic Arts, supporting young Black filmmakers, particularly those without financial means. Because of that, many young directors today call him the godfather of Black cinema empowerment. To Cube, Big E3 was never just a basketball league, it was a way to bring opportunity back to those the system forgot. Each year, a portion of Big E3's revenue is donated to funds supporting retired athletes and their families, while also hosting free basketball camps for kids in Los Angeles and Chicago. Cube has consistently donated to the Compton Community Center Children's Hospital Los Angeles and Artists for a New South Africa, an organization funding HIV/AIDS prevention and relief efforts. During the COVID-19 pandemic, he personally designed a t-shirt line reading "Check Yourself Before You Wreck Yourself" from his 1992 hit song, donating all profits to frontline healthcare workers in California. No press conference, no thank you clips. Just one post: I don't do it for likes. I do it because it's right. 3 decades have passed, and the rap world has changed beyond recognition. New names like Drake, Kendrick Lamar, and Travis Scott dominate the charts. But whenever Ice Cube steps into the spotlight, everything goes quiet because he doesn't follow trends. He creates them. The Modern Era and the Viral Comebacks Act. My Age, the clapback that broke the internet. Newsweek in 2024. Cube dropped his new track act. My Age, a direct response to critics telling him he's too old to rap. The lyrics hit like a slap. Never tell me to act my age. I made this age matter. When a social media user mocked him, it's time to hang up your mic. Cube fired back on X Twitter, I would never listen to you. You've lost your sense of humor. Go find it. The post went viral worldwide, quoted by Newsweek and Complex. Some called him the OG still on fire. Others called him a stubborn old man. Cube just laughed because at 55 he can still make the world argue about him. Selena Gomez and the childhood crush that broke the internet. During a talk show, Selena Gomez surprised everyone by saying, I had the biggest crush on Ice Cube when I was 5. The audience burst out laughing. Hours later, Cube replied on live radio, A lot of them like me homie. I had about 4 crushes. His playful comeback went viral instantly. TikTok exploded with clips captioned from gangsta to gentle turning Ice Cube, the rebellious icon of the 90s, into Gen Z's favorite uncle. A political statement that earned media respect iHeartRadio. When U.S. immigration officers carried out a major raid in Los Angeles, Cube was asked for his thoughts. He didn't dodge the question, "It hurts," to see people disrespected like that. They want to traumatize people. A rapper who once screamed, "The police," now spoke calmly, but with the same weight as a hammer. His words were shared millions of times and praised by iHeartRadio as one of the most humane statements ever made in hip-hop. Truth to Power 4. Decades of Attitude. Final Tour or New Beginning. 2025. In May 2025, Cube announced a new world tour, Truth to Power 4. Decades of Attitude. A tribute to 40 years of revolution from Straight Outta Compton to Act My Age. When asked if this would be his final tour, Cube smiled. "People think they've seen me perform. They haven't seen nothing yet." Insiders believe he's preparing either a final album or an official memoir, The Final Confession, where he'll reveal untold truths about Hollywood politics and N.W.A. Today, Ice Cube has nothing left to prove. He's been a rapper, an actor, a businessman, and now a living witness to history. A legend, cold, real, and irreplaceable. I used to rap about surviving the streets. Now I rap about surviving fame. Ice Cube. Ice Cube was never the easy one in Hollywood. He spoke the truth, lived it, paid for it, and that's exactly what made him the last legend of the real era. In a rap world full of effects and scandals, Cube stands apart, calm, steady, and untouched, like an ancient block of ice that never melted. Do you think Hollywood has ever tried to bury someone the way they did Ice Cube? Share your thoughts below, because every comment could uncover a new chapter of the truth. Like, share, and subscribe. This journey isn't over yet.
All data, analysis, and commentary in this video are presented based on information available at the time of production. The content is subject to change over time and should not be considered a definitive forecast. There is still so much more to explore: stories of resilience, legacy, and truth. Feel free to dive into some of our top recommended videos now appearing on the screen.